So my chapter looks at the impact of anti-Black racism on the individual. And what I wanted to do in this chapter, and in fact my research, because the chapter does come out of my doctoral research, was to challenge the narrative that that Black people who experience anti-Black racism are in some ways, kind of scarred by that permanently. And even their subsequent generations are scarred by that, irrespective of historical context or irrespective of any other kind of factors, such as their own experiences or cultural identity. So what I wanted to do was actually to focus very specifically on groups of people who, or groups of women specifically, who I felt had actually challenged that through their achievement in the workplace. So I looked specifically at the experiences of a group of women, and I will hold my hand up. I'm one of them, who are the children of the Windrush generation. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that, but the Windrush generation are a group of people who came from the Caribbean to the UK post-war, so from about 1945 to the early 60s. And I was looking at not only their experiences of their parents, but also the experiences of their daughters who were born in the UK. And obviously they're being shaped by the experiences of their parents. And I don't know if Emmy remembers this, but I remember when I was doing my Pat Viva and I was talking about it. I think originally I was going to look at women of Caribbean heritage, and I think Emmy said something about, well, how different are the islands? And I think, well, actually, there are differences between the islands. And I think this illustrates the point that I'm trying to make. There are not only differences between Black groups, there are also differences between Black people from all different cultural identities. So I think with Emmy's guidance, so thank you for this, Emmy, I decided to focus specifically on women of Jamaican heritage, which is also my heritage as well. And what I wanted to understand was how the impact of their heritage impacted their experience of anti-Black racism. So in my research, all of my participants, particularly in their formative years, all of them had experienced racism. But what was interesting is that those who really did, kind of achieve and actually, in terms of build a kind of healthy psychological functioning, it was really their kind of connection to their cultural identity and a way of not only looking at their Blackness as in some way, of less value, but being able to reconstruct their Blackness and reconstruct their identity as something positive. And I think it does fit with a lot of what Emmy was saying, and also some really broader existential themes around the fact that, you know, trauma happens to everybody, and there should be no reason why anti-Black racism is going to be the one thing that is going to destroy your life. There will be lots of things that people are going to contend with. And in my research, I mean, there were a number of people, obviously, who had other factors that had contributed to their lives, which were also difficult. But what these women really demonstrated, I think, in my research, was that they were able to give some value back to their lives, and also to connect with their agency. And again, that's another important theme within existentialism. And I really wanted to challenge this, which I feel is as a kind of dominant narrative, that somehow the experience of anti-Black racism renders you a victim, and a victim forever, and even your subsequent generations become a victim forever. My research absolutely doesn't point to that. There is always that possibility of people being able to construct meaningful lives out of those experiences. And a bit like what Claire said, I think I will stop now so that you can read my chapter. But do please feel free to ask any questions. Okay, thanks.